Hey there, welcome to day 1801 of What's She Up To Now. Backwards, well, not backwards to you, but backwards to me. S for the Scarlet Letter, because our idiom, our expression today for supersize your business, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, by the way, was and is a fate worse than death. And the origin of this is basically the belief that if a woman lost her virtue, she was basically worthless and she might as well be dead because she was better off dead than what probably happened to her if she had no virtue anymore. Thank goodness those times no longer exist, and we can live our lives in a much more positive way. But the idiom, the expression stuck, and a fate worse than death, we often use it now. Comedians and journalists and people use it to describe something bad that's happened. Now, is it usually a fate worse than death? Very seldom, right? So often, and there are terrible things that happen that are a fate worse than death, but I personally haven't ever experienced them. Or people I know really haven't, but I'm sure that they do exist. But we took this and we asked ourselves, well, what does this mean with respect to growing and building and supersizing our business? To me, more often than not, it means that as business owners and business builders, sometimes we overreact, right? And we don't necessarily set the best example with respect to leadership and how we respond and react to things. And that's something that we always want to be getting better at, because usually things aren't the end of the world. Look at even the global pandemic, which was really a bad nonsense kind of crazy thing that happened, and the way it was handled, it was definitely, in my opinion, not awesome and not in the best interest of us as human beings. As someone that would be considered high risk, I would have much rather had us be responsible for ourselves and say, I need to stay away from people because I'm at high risk, and then let the world run its course. I think we would have seen less flus, less deaths, less rebound RSV and things that we're seeing in the world right now if we had done that. But you know what? Hindsight's always 2020. Even my hindsight's 2020, and I am legally blind. So what does that tell you? So a fate worse than death, we tend to make things worse than they have to be. And a lot of that, I think, is our conditioning. The media, for my entire lifetime, has taken and focused on the bad and the negative. And when we're in school, teachers usually mark things, what's wrong, with big red checks or big red circles, and they highlight what was wrong with what we did, not what was right. And I think that our whole culture, and in many countries, but here in the United States, in my experience, has been that we make things worse than they have to be. And instead of focusing on the solutions, often we're focusing on the problems. But as soon as we switch to the solutions, all of a sudden, things don't seem so bleak, and we actually figure out a way to do the things that we want to do. So that was our idiom today, a fate worse than death. It's been around for a long time. Again, way back in the day when it was considered, it was actually a euphemism for rape, which is really quite disturbing. But then it came to me. It was actually in Tarzan. Tarzan stole Jane, and then the author Edgar Rice Burroughs, I believe, said that was a fate worse than death. And I'm paraphrasing, of course, but you get what I mean. Because number one, she was living in the jungle. Number two, she was probably going to lose her virtue, right? So it kind of had the old meaning and the new meaning tied into one. Not that it's very new meaning, but it just means something super duper bad happens, or something that you would consider worse than death. I guess if I was kidnapped and tortured, I would consider that worse than death, right? Or a war prisoner or something. Probably that would be better than if they just knocked me off. Anyway, never really thought about this question, but that is one of our questions today for the BU 365-day challenge. Only a couple days left. It's already day 363. That means only 2 more days of the challenge. I'm asking 2 questions every day for the month of December. And the first one was, does fate exist? Do you believe that fate exists and that some things happen because they're fated or destined to happen? Fate is kind of in the present, and it's looking at what's happening right now and saying, was there some kind of a divine reason for this, or is it just the culmination of all the choices and the decisions I've made over the course of my life so far? This is where I am right now. I don't know. It's up to you to decide. And the second question was, who has influenced you the most in your life? That's a big question. Might have been a teacher, might have been a significant other, might have been a partner, might have been an old friend, might have been a current friend, might have been one of your parents or your siblings or something. But just think about today, the positive. Let's go with the positive. I said it could be positive or negative, but let's just go with the positive people that have impacted us the most? That was our second question. If I can help you in any way, I am wrapping up 2022 and finalizing plans for 2023. I like to have an overall framework of what I want to accomplish and what I'm going to do in the next year. And then, of course, life happens and it changes all the time. I personally need to have heart surgery next year, but there's no time frame on it. It's when my internal cardiac device fails, and when it fails enough times, then they'll replace it. Now, I'm very fortunate in that mine is just like an insurance policy. I don't need it to pace my heart or do anything like that. So for me, it's not a super stressful thing. I'll just deal with it when it has to happen. It's not a big problem. It's not a big stressor. But I got to tell you, if I needed it to pace and keep my heart going at the right frequency, and I had to wait for it to fail a certain like 3 to 5 times before they would replace it, because really you have to take the whole thing out and put a new one in. They always used to call it a battery replacement, but they can't just put a new battery in and then sew you back up. They got to take it out and install a new one. So not sure what the recovery is going to be for that, but I'll figure it out. I always figure it out. But I need to have some things in place so that whenever that hits, I'll be covered, if that makes sense. All right. If I can help in any way, ask. Otherwise, have an absolutely fabulous day, and I will be with you tomorrow.